we see a good example in it in one of my favorite shows on Netflix that has become the topic of conversation amongst a lot of people, particularly in Black homes, is this series Forever, which is a beautiful story of young love in a Black neighborhood, and it is not traumatic, and bad things don't happen.
It's just regular kids.
It's just regular kids, right, that reflects all of our lives in real ways. And I know you watched some of that, and Barack, you are well aware of it. But the show has created a lot of conversation in terms of how do you raise emotionally intelligent boys and what we get right and what we get wrong. Not just among boys, but kids in general.
We watched it as a family. We watched the whole series as a family and enjoyed it a lot. It was really fun to hear the boys talk about, oh, you guys would have done that, or you guys wouldn't have done that. That was eye-opening as a parent. Because
they're evaluating you.
They're evaluating, they're evaluating our parenting, or they're evaluating their parenting based on their own.
That's the crazy thing Dad would do.
But this brings me back to Emma. Emma's trying to raise these boys, and so she's trying to be somewhere between Forever and then the other show that people are talking about, Adolescence.
So here we go. I'm going to stop them for a second. Topic of their conversation is about raising young boys, the state of young men in America, how we should be raising them. And fortunately for us, I believe all of us are raising young boys, so I think we got a good perspective.
There you go. How do you raise young boys? My understanding as of today, give them trials, give them challenges. Yeah, boys need challenges. They got to grow. Healthy, controlled challenges, but yeah, they are not to be treated like girls. They need to go out and bust their kneecaps a little bit, get scratched up. It is extremely healthy for them. But yeah, I believe the way I am going to choose the parents going to be different, how they going with their soft selves. Pretty sure they want to cuddle their sons like girls.
And then the other show that people are talking about, Adolescence, which I haven't watched yet, which it gets into sort of the misogyny that young boys are exposed to,
and the online,
the manosphere.
They're getting their parenting.
They're getting their
online.
parenting.
They're getting their notions of manhood from extreme
extremists.
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 Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah,
because let's go back to the original question.
Here we go. So he say, first of all, y'all got all the control over what your kids watch. That I would say that fall back on the parents. So you need to be restricting whatever your kids watching that you don't want them watching. I mean, everything ain't positive. Granted, there's some stuff out there that you don't want your kids to see, but kids gonna gravitate. I mean, they're gonna gravitate towards the wild stuff. All it takes is one friend to watch something. He gonna tell everybody else, and they all be watching it. And be careful.
Yeah. Let's say parenting is never ending. Me and my wife was having this conversation a while back, and that's why it is imperative to control who your kids are around. Yeah.
And I would say it's cat like said, they try to go on the line and say people like, F&F and Andrew Tate's. That's who they are speaking about. But I don't think it is weird. You got to chew up the meat and spit out the bones with anything you watch.
But what about Anna Wintour? What about Anna Wintour? What about Harper's Bazaar? What about what other things do women do that are destructive? What about BBLs? What about Kim Kardashian? What about Paris Hilton and what was her name? Nicole Richie? What about them? What about that? What about Nicki Minaj in her outfits on stage? What about Sexy Red? Like, we can go down this rabbit hole. It's not extremists. If you're going to call a Fresh and Fit an extremist, then you better call Nicki Minaj and Beyonce extremists too.
Fair. That is fair.
Well, I would say they ain't going to do anything. That's why it's two sides of the coin. And shout out to SBC. We're going to do our part, but a lot of people ain't budging. Like you say, a lot of folks in this country they got their feet dug in, and whatever they believe is what they believe. Just all you can do is tell people what you believe, but you ain't gonna convert any of these people.
Yeah. Shout out to the Moot Game Ages and Empires. No converting.
Extremists.
Yeah, extremists.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because let's go back to the original question. All right, Emma's trying to figure out how to raise boys. I think we did a pretty good job of raising our girls, but I've said often that I think I would have had more difficulty raising a son.
I agree.
Because I think I might have been more judgmental, harder, and I would have tried to. I'd like to think I would have been more self-aware enough to combat that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think father-son relationships, for me particularly, if I don't have a dad around to show it to me, might have been more difficult. So talk about, Craig, just how you thought about it. Was it just you took what your dad had done and you said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try the same thing.
Or were there things
did
you
it
didn't
change
wanna
over
do?
time?
It was a little bit of everything. What you're both saying. Initially, I thought, okay, I'm going to take what I learned from Dad, all the things that I thought were positive, and then the couple of things that I thought were negative, I was going to try and repurpose.
Right.
What were some of the positives?
Well, it's just kind of the stuff that I named before. The willingness to get up and go to work every day, taking me with him to see what it was like to have male relationships, either at work, at the barbershop. He didn't go to the gym, but in places where men hung out.
Right.
The record store, we would go to the record store every now and then, and he'd have a bunch of friends there. That sounds like an old
I know the record
idea,
store.
going to the record store.
Oh, it's come back.
It's come back.
Oh, has it? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
It's retro.
But those were some of the positive things. How to walk with mom when you're walking down the street. Always walk on the street side.
Yeah. On the street
And
side.
holding the door and opening the door for her, allowing her to go in. It was just things like that.
Right.
And then I'd have to really work at thinking of something negative.
And it's just a new age. So, he's saying some positive stuff, but in today's world, we got the internet. So raising kids today is a whole nother ball game. Old folks like them, they really can't give any advice on how to raise children because it does not apply. Most of the stuff simply don't apply because they don't have all the obstacles we got. All right. They had a hop, skip, and a jump. We got to jump off cliffs, swim and dive and deal with fire and brimstone. They ain't have to do all this.
It's facts. Times were simpler in many ways, and not complaining, but it is what it is. Back then, dad could have his job in the steel mill, mom staying at home, or even have her little part-time job. And you know what I'm saying? The son and daughters, they fend for themselves. They coming home and get ready, whatever the case may be. And they ain't got to worry about the internet. The number one obstacle for us modern day parents, the internet infiltrating their home. That wasn't a concern. Today, it's our biggest concern. We good as far as what mom and daddy gonna present and expose our kids to. But that internet got to be careful.
And the world, like I said, your house can be completely restricted. Your kids can be angels at home. If they got to go outside and go to school, all it takes is one of their friends to pull his phone out and say, look at this. And your kid is being corrupted. And your kid might like what he see. He's a kid. So it is what it is. It's just hard.
It's that curiosity. Gotta keep unhealthy curiosity at the minimum until kids can process what they are experiencing out here in real life and on these cellular devices. Because that curiosity at a young age, I know it, lived it. It's weird. Shoot, yeah, young and don't know how to process feelings like this. Like, what is this? It's not healthy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I have a son and he's a teenager, and just by having a son, it has drawn me to pages like SBC and Cart Before the Horse, and just so I can learn men and to help. I mean, I'm not a man. I don't know what it's like to be a man, but I know being in these type of spaces and learning men and all that, I know that that's going to help me to be a better mother for him and to help to understand the things that he goes through. As parents, every day is something new. We conquer one challenge and then the next one is waiting for us the next day. So we have to stay on top of our game. And these kids are exposed to a lot. Like you guys were saying, we can protect them from the world, but as soon as they step out and they're with their homeboys or whatever, they're going to be exposed to the world. So, I think it's important just to keep open dialogue with your kids. And I know there's certain things that my son doesn't want to talk to me about, but he'll go and talk to dad about. And we can do our thing on the side and talk about the different things that he talks about to both of us. My son is funny because he won't talk to me about women, but he'll go talk to dad, but he'll talk to me about other things. But I'm like, I'm a whole woman out here. Like I can lace you, I can game you up, but he doesn't. That's his thing. That's something
It's
that they
awkward.
do.
It's awkward talking
It
about
is
that stuff with
awkward. But it's one of those things. It takes a whole village. Like we're all here to help each other, and we're all here to navigate this and to lead our boys into the right direction so that they can be productive men. So
That part. So yeah, I think it's supposed to be a little bit awkward to talk to your mom about stuff like that. Then you go, I mean, for real, because a lot of these parents, you'll be crossing lines. You'll be like Jim Jones and his mom. Jim Jones said his mom taught him how to French kiss. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
wicked.
you see that?
Yeah, see, that's that type of issue I'm talking about. See that the perverted parents of yesteryear. I said that. It's documented. Yeah. Yeah, he said his mom taught him like with her mouth.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
said,
that's
yeah,
weird.
he said she taught
Yeah,
him. Yeah,
that's
they said, what you
nasty.
mean? She said, grabbed him, her tongue. Like, this is how you do it, son.
That's ungodly. Like for real, we grown ass folks. Excuse my language. We know what I don't.
The dad did, but
Well, what about?
I-
let me ask this though. I mean, dad also came home, put his feet up. He didn't always cook. Or he didn't do dishes. He didn't do.
But you have to remember that I was thinking at the time that was okay because he was at work all day and he needed to rest, and mom was always cooking. So, but that's a good one. That's a good potential negative.
Gender roles, very clear division.
Very clear gender roles.
Very clear.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to do the positive things and then sort of expose Avery, who's my oldest, to less of the negative things.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to remember, Avery's 33. So he didn't have to worry. We didn't have to worry about social media.
Mm-hmm.
There was very little internet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We really focused on how to behave out in public as a guy, or I should say, how to get along, how to treat girls, how to have conversations. But with Austin and Aaron, it's more of how do you deal with social media?
Yeah.
And which was in Forever,
Mm-hmm.
the whole premise of the show. What are you supposed to say when you do
Is
that?
this a spoiler alert?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Was a video that got leaked.
Mhm.
So we're constantly talking to them about that. And now I have even more things to draw from because I raised Avery,
Right.
and there were some things that I was like, I wish I hadn't done that.
I could have
And
done that better.
I could have done that better, whether it was sort of teaching them how to drink. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know how to, you could end up in a bad situation.
Right.
More direct conversations about the first time you are with a woman intimately.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean sex, Craig?
I do mean sex, and it's funny how I was tiptoeing around.
Craig got a little.
I was
gonna let
tiptoeing
him
around
do
it
it
because
too,
I
right?
feel like I'm
I was like,
on
you
television.
make me nervous. I was just like, let him get.
Yeah, there we go. So I guess he dropping some game. He raising a lot of kids. He got older kids, younger kids. Not the Obamas. I don't know what they got to add because they are very alternative with how they raise their kids. It's sort of do what y'all want on you. They raising their kids on feelings.
Wrong answer. Shout out to all the kids that got the sex talk. How did y'all get introduced to Hutchin in the Hood? I remember whenever it was okay for me, we was watching a movie. Y'all remember big kids watching movies with your parents, and the nasty part come on, they say, cover your eyes. The time y'all watching the movie and your mom say, they say, you go ahead and watch. That was it. That's hunching education for a lot of kids in the hood, is for your parents to acknowledge that you can watch nasty movies, to say, go ahead, watch. That's your education.
Like you said, the first time you really get into it, maybe high school, maybe your first health class or something. But yeah, anything is rarely taught in the hood, especially back in the day. I'm sure there's Obviously we got the internet now. These kids ain't slow, but back then, you didn't know anything. You had to learn it all on your own.
That's it. I got my first encounter with X-rated material. My uncle passed away, and we was clearing out his bedroom, and he served in the military. And man, we found some oldies and goodies there. Me and my cousins got in that room, found them magazines. He had like nudie pamphlets, boy. We was good to go.
That part, yeah.
He found his duffel bag full of all of his
Yeah.
little, my
Listen,
dad
I
has one of those too. I used to love to go in there and look at that stuff.
But one
was
thing
like-
we knew, it was real black and white. We knew that, men were supposed to be with women, right? You knew the basics. You knew the basics, and that was it.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Like perversion was extremely limited. Taboo and stuff. No. Just, you know what I mean? I remember it was watercolors. Like it was just it was tasteful, if you will.
I remember growing up, we never had like the cable S channels. There was like I think it was Spice, and it was Playboy, but we didn't subscribe to it, so it would play a little bit and then it would get squiggly.
Yeah.
And then you have to keep waiting till the squiggle went away to watch it again. And then you had to have your remote control on the previous channel
On
to the
previous.
Cartoon Network
Ooh, y'all nasty. Hey.
in case your mom or dad came downstairs.
No, see, that's 101. God dang it. You gotta have it on previous.
Yes.
And then, but no. First, you gotta click up from what you on, because you gotta get off
Right.
that, and then because I know they would check and see what the previous was.
Right.
So you
Right.
gotta get a little more clever.
That part, y'all wildin'. The good old days.
We had the Spice channel. It was channel 099.
There it is. Yep.
My brother
Channel
burnt that
99.
channel down to the ground. My brother started calling them folks. My mom was like, "What is this $50 on the phone bill? Oh my God, he's calling the nudie line." Like it was out of control. Like I never did anything like that because I'd be mortified that my dad would hear me or be like disappointed in me or whatever. But my mom always talked to me about sex. I told my mom 2 hours after I had sex that I had sex. Like that's how much she talked to me about it. So I talk to my son about it often, but it's not in a weird, creepy way. Like he left out of the house today and he's 14. And I was like, "All right, you leaving?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be back." I was like, "All right, now you don't need any extras." And he knew what I was talking about when I was like, "Do you need some extras?" And he was like, "Oh no, mom, it's not like that. I'm just going up the street." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's the summertime. I know some girls' parents work on the weekend. If you need some extra, let me know. Like I'll have your daddy take you up to the store and get you together. Like I liked, it
I like
started
that.
when he was young and I want to continue it because when he goes off to college, I'm afraid that he's going to be a part of some kind of Me Too phenomenon. You know what I mean? Like I would hate for something like that to happen to my son.
No fear.
So I want
You
him to
doing
be
right.
comfortable talking to me or any other woman about
Mhm.
what he's comfortable with doing or not comfortable doing. You know what I mean? Like, so
I
I don't
agree.
know. Y'all
Listen,
better talk to y'all's kids about sex because
Yes.
it's serious and they're gonna do it. Like,
Yes, that's
Right.
it. I know people saying yes at 14. Yes.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all better stop being hypocrites. A lot of us was doing stuff way before 14.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, my husband was much younger than 14.
Come
So
on,
that's where
yeah.
I'm getting this from.
Yeah, you doing yes,
It was going
blessings to
down
you.
in middle school. So
yeah. We was getting gawk in middle school. So
that's crazy.
Hold on.
Hey!
My middle schoolers.
Yes. Yes.
That's a whole nother. That's for the Patreon.
There you go.
yeah.
Shoot, we was in middle school getting hunched on by high school girls.
That's wild.
Mr. Walker, that is abuse. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
No doubt. But it's double standards. We talked about this one, Regal Rumble. We got deep into it. But yeah, it's the hood is perverted. It is what it is, man. It's unfortunate.
I would have protected you if I was your big sister. I would not have let them get their naughty little hands
I
on
had
you.
big
Here,
sisters.
we
I had
Yeah,
big
learned
for
sisters.
let's
real.
learn this stuff from our big sisters, man. What I'm trying to say, hell, that was some of my sex education. My sister babysitting, listening to her get hunched on. Yeah, this is real stuff in the hood.
Y'all talking about sisters
You
helping.
would let your little brother
One
hear
second,
that
y'all.
happening?
1 second. You talking about big sister. Some of our big sisters was those COs in prison hunching prison nug. You understand? I'm gonna put it like that. So you talking about if you was our big sister. We come from the gutter. All right. There's not one instance we done showed up here that we can't either indirectly or directly relate to. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, listen, my mama go to the bar, leave my sister in charge. Yeah, her boyfriend was coming over. Y'all go
How
downstairs.
much older is she than you, if you don't mind me asking? Like, me and my brother are 5 years apart.
Yeah, she got me by at least 6 or 7 years.
Okay. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
sneaking out. Yeah, shoot, man. We was in the projects, my sister too. Sneaking out, coming back, middle of the night, yeah, wild as heck. Wow.
Yeah, see, I snuck out, but that was the only thing my little brother, he only saw that. Like, he never saw me with boys, or if boys were over, they were playing video games with the both of us. It wasn't it wasn't on that type of time. I did those things like away from the house, but oh my goodness. Okay, God, y'all sisters were showing y'all. That is so
I'm
wild.
trying to tell you, man. Listen here. That's why, listen, I'm excited for this journey. Like I said, raising kids. I ain't
Yeah.
afraid. Like I said, I got too much. Kids can't fool me.
Right.
And I like the contrast. I get a kick and a thrill out of seeing like how me and my wife are raising our kids and me being able to reflect and see the contrast how I grew up. It's surreal because, like I said, me and Mexa will tell you guys our stories vaguely, but you really can't grasp the weight of it. And then we got these kids growing up in favorable circumstances, and it's nice. It's like, look at my 11-year-old son, and I remember where I was at when I was 11, and it's like, it's nice justice.
Yeah, and our kids nowadays, like with us, we were outside all the time, morning all the way till nighttime. We were outside with our friends. We were catching buses to go places. We were hopping in random cars to go places. There was no cell phones, no nothing, no way to track you. But our kids, I think, at least with my son, I can only speak for my son, but he's more reserved than I was because I was out, I was outside as much as I could be. My mom was like into church and she wasn't having any of that, but I was still Ebony and I would tiptoe and do what I wanted to do sometimes. But our kids, I think they're more chill, I think, than we are because we're on top of it. We did all of the things, so we know what to expect. And we know their locations. We see it on our phones. We know exactly where you are and what you're doing, and you better not turn that location off.
Facts, all that. Ain't no privacy. Yes,
Right.
parents, don't fall victim to that. Your children do not have privacy. That's one of the worst things you can do is give your kids privacy. No.
Through
But
this.
but
How do we sort of start thinking as a society about helping mothers
Right.
raise sons because they're doing it alone, and we're being told that we don't have what it takes to give boys all of what they need?
Well, look, I think you started hinting at it. As somebody who was raised by a single mom, not perfectly, but that unconditional love as a start is the right one.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, though, thinking about raising boys in the same way you're thinking about raising daughters, which is how do you make them good, responsible people who know how to function and know how to understand themselves well enough that they can navigate this really complicated world, and setting high expectations. So there are a lot of these things that apply to boys and girls. I do think that there are some particular issues with boys that as a society we're not addressing. I do think as a society we have to create more structures for boys and men to have guidance, rituals, frameworks, encouragement, to be able to meet a wide range of role models so that whatever their inclinations, they can see a path to success that isn't just sports or money. Making a lot of money, and so that's on all of us together. What I would say to Emma would be, in your community, even if you have a wonderful male partner who's in the house, I think.
Oh, let's stop. I'll say this right now before he keep going. The women back in the day, the problem with today is these women are really single moms. Back in the day, they was not really. Like, your daddy may not have been in the house, but I can't remember a time when my mom just didn't have a man in the house till I was obviously grown, like now in her older age. But growing up as kids, school age, always a man in the house. You know what I mean? Whether it was your daddy or not, whether they cared or not, it's a whole other story. But it was masculine presence, and you knew how to toe the line because there was a man in the house.
There you go. Same, Mr. X. And looking back now on the perils of being a boy raised by a single mom, thank God for brutish moms, and thank God for brutish stepdads and mom's boyfriends. Yes, because that masculine energy, yes, you take it in and you learn how to carry yourself. Just a man saying, "Hey, boy, stand up straight." You know what I'm saying? Don't be running home from no fight. Like, these masculine things, they are so critical, especially at a younger age. And we are observing when young boys don't get that, they don't have that challenge. I used to go outside looking for challenges, man, going and fighting and playing with the bigger kids. That was, I swear to goodness, young men, please challenge yourselves. I used to go out and all but pick fights with the big kids because when you're a kid, you could take your lumps. You don't want to be taking lumps in high school. That shame and embarrassment rides with you forever. It just does. Challenge yourself as young men. Go around brutish men. They will build you up.
I was going to say another thing is it's important to put your boys in martial arts and in sports and other program that's going to teach them about teamwork, about self accountability, about self discipline, and just being able to defend yourself. All that stuff is so important, and they'll carry it throughout life. So it's another way to keep them in line.
That's on all of us together. What I would say to Emma would be, in your community, even if you have a wonderful male partner who's in the house, I think it still would be good to find assets in the community, people in the community, friends in your community, places of worship, community organizations, what have you, where there are a bunch of men who can be sort of elders to boys. And so they're not just looking at one particular role model, but many. And one of the things when Michelle and I first started dating and I'd go over to your guys' house, one of the things I loved was just, seeing all your uncles and your cousins. And there were a bunch of different kinds of men. There were men that were kind of soft-spoken, and then there were men that were loud, and there were men who were engineers, and then there were men who were police officers, or they drove a jitney cab.
Yeah.
Right? And that's one of the things that I think a lot of times boys need is not just exposure to one guy.
Well, here's what boys need. We need women to start choosing better men. All right. We need the 60 to 70% of women to stop having kids with 20% of men, and then expecting everybody else to raise said man's kids. It's not happening in 2025. So, I mean, even though black men are the most involved fathers, we can't speak for that bottom 20. They got too many damn kids and they don't care. So here we are. Like, I coached football for a long time. I've been around these young boys, and a lot of times you can see the ones that come from a real single. Like, I've coached kids so long now to the point where some kids I used to coach are deleted in the graveyard, in prison for deleting. Kids that have deleted each other. I done seen all this. Kids I done coached. So, and there's also another side, of kids that I done coached that are in college right now. Some of these kids are getting ready to go to the NFL, a handful of them. So it's like a basket of all different types. But you can see it young when they're in these single parent homes, and you can only try but so much. But you could be like, man, if they don't, you tell the parents like, hey, your son doing this, and they kid can't do no wrong. You can't tell them their kid is bad.
There you go. A coach can do all they can. Shout out to the coaches out there. God bless Mr. X. Yeah, shoot, coaches saved my life. You know, I was one of those troubled kids. I had a heck of a time through athletics. I was hard-headed, you know, too talented for my own good at my position. Couldn't tell me nothing for a while until I got to college. But yeah, you know, dealing with those kids, you know, Miss X used to tell me, you sit there and you do your best. You become emotionally attached. You go to instill values in these kids. But if they got to continue going home to these desperate situations, mom and daddy fighting, or, you know, daddy gone. Mama sitting there acting wild, getting cheeks clapped by any and every old body. You can't sit here and try to tell this kid to stay low and keep their feet moving when they can't get these noises and visions out their head of the madness at home. It's unfortunate.
One dad.
One dad. No matter how good the dad
is, he can't be
like,
everything.
he can't be everything. And then that boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective on the dad.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
Right. So that I think is creating that community. I know it's corny, but that's what they
fuck is you talking about? Fuck is you talking about?
There we go. So I guess just the most controversial part. He's saying he had a zesty professor and more kids needs role models, even if they zesty. Even if you're a good dad, Mr. Walker, you could be a great dad, almost perfect. You should still allow zesty men to be role models to your sons.
And sit here and tell my son, who I am accountable for, is raising as a man, say, you need to go seek counsel from a man that don't share any of our core values. And he's going to help you out. I grew up as a fatherless child, and I'm still standing on that. I can teach this little boy a lot more than a man that has succumbed to such fleshly desires. Miss me with that bullish, man.
Why would he even say that? What you got, Raquel?
She trying to appease his boyfriend.
So let me tell you why he would say that. All right. So if y'all can catch the PR play going on here, how is Michelle Obama acting in this setting? Like a proper wife, right? She's sitting at the table with her husband and her brother, and she's cowering to the power in the room. Barack is sitting at the table, and she is not acting like that big, powerful woman that she was acting like when she was sitting across from Tracy Ellis Ross. So she's got her hands spanked. So that's what we're seeing here. Okay. She's sitting over there being prim and proper, and he has the stage like he always has the stage. And what he's doing is he's cleaning up her mess, you all. You are watching Barack Obama sit at the table while she knows that he is there to clean up the mess that she has made these past 3 months, talking to Tracy Ellis Ross, talking about all this bull crap that she's been talking about. He's cleaning it up. So he touched on the professor, right? We'll talk about the professor. He's talking about his gay professor who he has been linked to, supposedly, allegedly, I think I snapped. People are saying that he is a gay male who might have been having these proclivities in college, and that's where he met her in law school, and then was cleaning up his image to be who we know him as today. So he's doing two things. He's cleaning up the mess she made about that comment recently with the baby, saying he'd be harder on a son, or no. She said, what did she say when she was being all hoity-toity on her high horse that she didn't see him raising a son. That,
Mm.
oh no,
Yeah.
she didn't want a son, not a Barack
Mhm.
Obama Jr. That's what she said.
That's it.
Right. So now he's cleaning that up for her. He's like, look, hey guys, look, stop dragging my wife, because I'm telling you here today that if I had a son, I'd probably be harder on him. What man
Wow.
isn't harder on their son? So he's cleaning up her mess, and he's cleaning up his too by mentioning this professor who people like Professor Black Truth, or sometimes, I don't know, maybe Tariq might mention it, or Jason Black, that he has these proclivities to men.
I'll say this: if you are he gonna say if you're a good dad, almost perfect dad. I'll say if you are truly a good dad, obviously married in the house every day, you really don't need much other influence until the later years. Maybe maybe getting closer to the teenage years. Maybe get into some type of sport or some type of activity or something, different type of coach or whatever. But the early years, not so much. I think if you're a good dad in the house, you can handle your son just fine. You don't need to be introducing him to alternative lifestyles. All right. Like I said, if he into some type of sports or track or swimming or whatever, if he into computers and coding and whatever he get into, there will be men. But
My husband tells my son, don't stare at him. Like, you gonna see them, they gonna be around.
Same.
We live in Atlanta,
Yep.
but you don't stare at them, you don't stare at midgets or
Yep.
short people. You just, but
Be
my husband is
respectful.
not doing that either. He's not, no, he would never say that. It's good, but look at what he's doing. He's using he's using feminism to have this conversation about what boys need. And it's because he was raised by a woman, and another woman, his grandmother. So it's so disingenuous, because they're going to be tiptoeing around all of the problems that boys actually have, but they're not going to say what the actual freaking issue is. And they know what it is, because the dad has already told us all what the problem is. But him and Michelle are going to act like, it's this mythical creature that, the red pill manosphere that is mucking up the boys.
Yeah.
No.
The big bad manosphere. Listen here, man. Barack at one point was the president of the United States of America. There ain't no way in heck I'm taking any type of disrespect if I was the most powerful man in the world at one point. There ain't no way in heck. Ain't no way, boy.
in your friend group, so that if you then have not just exposure to one guy, one dad, no matter how good the dad is,
he can't be everything.
He can't be everything. And then that boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective.
And that's so disingenuous. You need more than just one dad, because he can't be everything.
Egregious.
Who on earth can be everything? What child ever raised had a dad that was everything?
This is that gynocratic bull jive. You see what I'm saying? If mama is working doubles, she's sacrificing awesome and a saint. She ain't never home. But if dad is out doing the same, then he's away and he can't do everything and he's not perfect. Not complaining, just pointing out some injustices in today's culture when it comes to moms and dads. What did Kevin tell us? Judge mom just as harshly as you judge dad, huh? And give dad just as much grace as you give mom. And let's make this better.
Because that's like saying, all right, mom can't do everything. We should start letting our kids hang around strippers, and let's take the kids to Magic City and on Skid Row and let them talk to ladies of the night. You see what I'm saying? No.
I'm the dad.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant.
Like what?
You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group, so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
Right. So that, I think, is creating that community. I know it's corny, but that's what they need.
And we talk a lot about what we had with our mother and father, right? And a lot of times, but we really did have a big community of people in our lives. I mean, that we don't talk a lot about that on this show. We allude to it, but Craig and I, we grew up in a huge community of extended aunts and uncles and cousins and all types of male role models, which helped in broadening out and filling in where our mother and father were limited.
So for Emma, I'm picking up a couple of things. Community, big,
huge,
not just
a single mom,
or mom and dad, but a broad community. And I can appreciate you using our family as an example, but uncles, but not necessarily blood uncles,
have to be blood.
But men who can who can give a kid or kids some contextualization of who their parents are.
And there you go. Barack up here projecting. All right. He's projecting, saying that he's not man enough to raise a boy into a man. So nobody is. And that's not true, because you got allegations on your hand. And this guy right here, your brother-in-law, telling you he doing it. All right. He done raised 3 or 4 boys. So he don't agree with you.
It's egregious. Sounds like a cop-out. That's all. Like I said, man, we up here, we talk about parenting is difficult, but I don't agree with him saying, "Oh, I couldn't do it." Man, as men, we gotta stop tucking tail like that. That's all I see. Like, he's tucking tail. Shout out to Miss Raquel to analyze the situation, I think, perfectly. You up here trying to do damage control, and it's sick. The optics are terrible. He got his legs crossed like a woman. Then you got this ninja sitting up here looking wonky. And even though Michelle is being more feminine and cooperative, she got more masculine than everybody up there still to this day. Unfortunately.
I was gonna sit here and say, men have a direct role, in my opinion. I think the women are the nurturers and all that good stuff. And man, you're supposed to show your son how to be a man. All right. It got nothing to do with a zesty man. What is he gonna show him? Respectfully, show your son the manly stuff. You first got to be a man, though, right? You got to know how to change a tire. You got to know how to replace a faucet and all these wonderful things so you can pass it down.
That's what I told my son. Listen here, man. It is so empowering presenting the world and your family with your best self. Because as I'm sitting here teaching my son, I'm able also to give him a bird's eye view at the alternative. I said, I could be a punk ass dad. I could be in a position where I don't, not telling you to do your push-ups and your curls and get your body right for whenever that testosterone kick in so you can be ahead of the competition. I could be here blowed out, pathetic, and trying to instill that into you as well. And that sounds like that's what Barack is going through. He ain't, respectfully, man, we heard his words. He ain't got enough testosterone in him to pass down to a boy. It's been all engulfed by the gynocracy. They got his balls in their hands.
I'm just trying to figure out why he said that did he say essential? I don't know the exact word that he used, that a boy should have a role model like that in his life. And I'm thinking about my son. I'm putting myself in this situation, and I really just don't see why that is necessary. I think it's all crazy, but if I was to be a devil's advocate and say, okay, this is a time where it maybe could be beneficial, is maybe if you did have a son who lived that lifestyle and has somebody to look up to, because I can't teach you nothing about that. Your dad can't, a lot of people cannot.
So let me ask you this, not to cut you off. For all of us, at what age can your kid choose to live that lifestyle?
I would say as an adult, you
I'm
can
about to
make
say,
that.
you can't, not while you're in my house. You do whatever you want once you're grown.
Right. Yeah. And as an adult, you can make that decision. But with what Barack Obama is saying is super dangerous, because there's gay people everywhere. And I have nothing against gay people. I have nothing against the lifestyle, none of that. There's gay people in churches. There's gay people in the Boy Scouts. And I would never purposely enroll my son.
It's not the Boy Scouts anymore. It's just Scouts.
Okay,
That's wild.
Scouts. Okay.
Yeah.
scouts or these certain churches and all that. I'm not going to enroll my child in the scouts program because I know, back in the day we learned what happened to a lot of those boys and in certain churches and being a part of certain programs in the churches. Um, little boys were messed with and things happened, and I don't see a point of purposely putting them around. Not to say that all of them are predators or anything like that, I'm not saying that, but I just don't see
But
why
why
that would be
expose them?
essential.
Kids are
Right,
impressionable. They are
right,
impressionable.
right,
If at a certain age, if you put them around, so they're going to want to adapt and assimilate.
right,
Plain and simple. That's why you have little boys being raised by single moms acting feminine. Human
right,
nature, they want to assimilate, they want that connection. So if a boy is around a brutish man out there chopping wood and building houses, he's going to want to imitate. They simply imitate. So
right.
I don't agree with it.
And
Uh,
that's why I gave the analogy earlier about the daughters. Do we take our daughters to Magic City and to Skid Row to see it? Because they're going to say, oh, they in here making fast money. I can do that. Why would you want to expose them to some of this stuff?
Right.
That's it. No, absolutely no hate nor bigotry. There is nothing wrong with being a heterosexual person and saying, I wish to instill heterosexual values into my children. Being a cis man or woman today is taboo. It's weird. And that's wild. It's ungodly.
Right. And
That's-
And
also,
what it
and
means-
can model,
Yeah.
there are a lot of ways to be a responsible, respected, strong man. And you don't have to be rich and you don't have to be a professional athlete.
And you don't have to go find it on the internet among
correct.
a group of unclear influences, and this is a thing that parents Emma has to understand if her sons aren't getting it,
They'll look for it
they are
someplace
going to
else.
look for it because boys need this.
Right.
Whether they think that they're
And understand the position they speaking from. They are talking to single moms. That's why we say we need to bring shame back. We don't need to start encouraging behavior. All right. We need fathers in the house. They talking about, oh, yeah, if you're a single mom, this, y'all ain't up here talking about marry before you carry. None of this stuff. You just like, hey, let's just keep doing this. Let's find solutions for them.
Marry before you carry, be accountable. That's too much accountability, and that's extreme today. Yeah, telling everyone that they're accountable for their actions, man or woman, that's considered extreme. So watch your mouth.
Man, what you got, Raquel?
Exactly that. Instead of them telling women to marry before they carry, they're still finding a way to have them not be accountable for their bad decisions by including gay professors and men in the community. Back in the day when Michelle Obama and her brother were being raised, their father would not dare go out into the community and ask another man, Jack SHIT, about what to do with his children or how to rear his children. And now they're telling you all, the men of the community, that you're on the hook for these bonquisha's children. And that's what I was saying earlier. They're tiptoeing over the issue. The issue is 80% of the women that have children are single mothers. That's the issue. And these single mothers don't have men to rear their children, and they're going to get to it later because now it's a concern of theirs because their daughters can't find suitable men to date. So now all of a sudden, oh, woe is me because now my daughters are affected. This is a worldwide problem. Barack, there were men that had children in college when you were doing the messed up things you were doing in the White House. And you didn't give a damn about any of their daughters or their sons finding productive men and women to date with and marry and build legacies with. But now it's so rich that you have all of these inclinations of what men need to do for men in their community when you destroyed yours. But it's not even yours because you're a tether. So yeah, they're tiptoeing around the fact that women need to marry before they carry, that women need to be accountable for the bad decisions that they make, and that women are the people raising the boys that they don't want their daughters dating.
Great
That part.
perspective, Raquel. That was great.
Yeah. Get up under some instruction and get up under the patriarchy. They trying to decenter from men and let's just let the zesty men raise our children. They are saying we don't need men. We don't need straight men. Let's get this clear. They are on this thing. We don't need straight men. All we need is, the seed of life. They say we can get the seed of life from zesty men. So they on this train right now. We're like, we don't need straight men. That's where they at.
Personally, I like looking at the philosophers, Socrates, all these folks of yesteryear, all the great philosophers, you name them. And I want to go down in history, but warning you ladies, I'm going to say it again. Y'all want to get rid of men so bad, that is y'all ultimate demise, because the animals are going to come out the wilderness and eat y'all. Okay? So just keep it up, and I'm done with it.
Happy playing video games on their own. And we haven't even talked about how the rise in video games has sort of left kids feeling like, well, this is who I am. I'm alone, or I'm interacting through a game virtually, but I don't have any in real life friends. Kids are going to seek out some kind of community. So big community, I would emphasize, because they need to have other outlets. They have to be able to learn how to be more than just the sport that they care about. Right. And while they get great skills in sports and they learn a whole lot of traits,
teamwork.
It isn't music. It's not language. It's not social in certain ways. Right. And so I think we owe it to our boys to be very deliberate about saying enough with sports and let's try some other things.
Or at least encouraging them and exposing them to it in a way. Look, sports was scaffolding for me to
I don't agree with that. As a coach, I don't agree with that. I think we need to stop telling all these kids they can be professional athletes, but kids need sports. It's a rite of passage for real for a lot of these young, especially in the inner cities, poor areas. There ain't much more to do besides sports, or you're getting into, gang banging or street culture, drug culture. It really ain't much else. And it's unfortunate. But to tell me, we need to stop, get more kids out of sports. You're already taking gym out of school. So it's just going to be a bunch of blowed out boys full of estrogen.
Gym class in elementary school on up, man. Those were proven grounds for young men. Shout out to Miss X. Yeah, sports saved my life. I was one of those kids. I found my identity in sports. Outside of sports, I was going to end up in the streets just like Miss X. There just was no way around that. Yeah, we have become too soft. Young men have to challenge themselves. Let y'all kids watch these masculine movies like the 300. There is no toxic masculinity. Shout out to Angry Man. The only toxic masculinity is a lack thereof, man. Let these kids see that in order to become a king, you must go out and defeat the winter wolf. There is no way around that. Participation trophies make you soft.
They are trying to strip men of everything. Video games, there's nothing wrong with video games. Video games don't make y'all more violent. They don't make y'all lazy. Okay, in research, in studies over all these years, they turn y'all into engineers. There are so many things that these video games do for young men because they have none of these other things like the Boy Scouts. They have none of these other things. Look at what she mentioned. I just did a video about feminism and it not being the F word women think it is. And in the video, they tell you boys need different things from girls. And what did she just say the boys needed to do? She said, the boys need to put down their video games, get offline and learn some music and some freaking, what was that, a reading or whatever she said. These are freaking women. these are for women. This is what girls do. Girls do that shit. Boys do not want to sit around and learn the cello.
No.
I have one friend named Cortland that sings and dances, but he comes from a family of fucking jazz musicians. So yeah, but he got 3 brothers. They all play an instrument. He's the only, but it's not for little boys to be little girls. They are trying to rip everything from the boys and turn them into girls. So that's exactly what they want. They want fat boys that are just ripe for the picking for their daughters to get off the carousel and then come be scooped up and taken care of by these men that are in these art freaking careers that can take care of them. But yeah, like this is the only way is when y'all put y'all's foot down and tell women to shut up and go sit down.
Well, I think
like Barack just did Michelle.
I think men are. It's just not enough. We outnumber. It's not enough good men, and the women simply outnumber us. So it's unfortunate. I don't think.
Take
I think
grace off the table. Take grace off the table.
Well, yeah. Listen, men ain't gonna do it in mass. You can't get every man. And I think what T Money is doing is kind of like a speed bump. I think as far as history goes in the future, I mean, we're going to be on this earth much longer than these 4 years. So 50, 60 years from now, you ain't no stopping this stuff. We're going to be in a different world.
Yeah, the writing's on the wall. I believe that the powers to be have gotten bored with what's going on. They want to see something new and exciting. They tired of getting on their yachts. They're tired of laying on their beaches. They're tired of hunching. They want to see something exciting, like a nuclear holocaust or a purely dystopian existence. They want some excitement. They're trying to bring these movies to life. I truly believe that. Yeah, they ain't trying to fix it for the most part.
How to be more than just the sport that they care about. And while they get great skills in sports and they learn a whole lot of traits,
teamwork.
It isn't music. It's not language. Mm-hmm. It's not social in certain ways. Right. And so I think we owe it to our boys to be very deliberate about saying enough with sports and let's try some other things.
Or at least encouraging them and exposing them to it in a way. Look, sports was scaffolding for me to pull myself into manhood. But even as I was doing that, though, my mom was still dragging me to art museums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was still being taken to, waiting for Godot. Mm-hmm. I remember my mom took me to a Samuel Beckett play when I was like 12. And I'm kind of sitting there.
It's like, what is this about?
But you know what? I kind of got it after a while. I thought, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the thing I would choose to do, but the fact that I did it meant later when I was 17, 18, all right, there's something there that, may be interesting. So sometimes it's just a matter of, saying to our boys, you being interested in art and you being interested in, theater, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would also,
boys hearing.
Right quick, I'm sorry. I hate the way they paint these pictures like it has to be either or. Like you can't be in auto mechanics, welding, and still take art. I play football and art was my favorite subject. It don't mean you got to be soft and abandon roughness and masculinity. Like I hate that. I just want to stop it there.
But that's cool.
Those are good things. So that and I would tell Emma, don't assume who your son is going to be based on some male stereotypes of what you think he should be.
Right.
Really pay attention to who he's showing you he is.
Right.
So that's them. They just up here. They got an agenda. Like I said, there's 2 sides to every coin. We got our, talking points and agenda, and so do they. So we'll let the universe do what it do and see what the future holds for these young babies.
Like, goodness gracious. When we talk about masculinity, toxic masculinity, we need to start to think about who do we need as a people in a time of emergency? And then whoever that man is, because it's a man, we need to work on cultivating that man. I love saying to the mothers, To all of you loving mothers, that have that undying urge to more or less baby your sons, understand something. At some point, there's going to be a woman putting the same demands on your son that you put on your husband. And he got to be able to stand there with his chest out and deliver the same way you expect your husband to.
Well, keyword husband. Only 25% of them are married. Well, I said this stuff ain't going nowhere. That sounded good, but now you only talking to 25% of the women.
And
But
that's
now
only,
with the 75%, the vast majority, that went in one ear and out the other one because they can't relate.
and those are the ones that can't be saved. It's an unfortunate reality we realize over here. You can't save them all. Yeah, say the ones that can be saved. The other ones, maybe shall perish.
That part, which is going to be more than that. Like I said, the marriage rates in the next 20 years is going to be in the teens and under 10%, in 40 years. So that number will continue to grow. It's unfortunate.
And
Or
the
shrink.
prophecy,
Or
yeah,
shrink.
and the
Well, the
prophecy
number of
continues.
casualties will grow.
And
Yeah,
the
so the
prophecy
majority of people are going to be on the wrong side of history.
and the prophecy is being fulfilled, as Kevin said. A marriage, shoot, stable relationships. We got to start adapting to what's going on. Marriage and stable relationships are going to become an elite institution.
There's going to be a point where about 80, 90% of the kids will be raised by single moms, and that's going to be very unfortunate. So as far as Barack and Michelle, I guess they can go Glaze Galaxy, go make some love.
There you go. Yeah, make love, not war.
We got us the gun line.
Tell them about the gun line, boss.
We may not know which way to go.
Oh Lord, see, this shit is gonna be dangerous. Some dark-winged duck shit. Let's get dangerous. I play the fool for the fool. Everybody plays the fool sometime. And no exception to the rule. Listen, baby, you hear me? I played the fool for a fool.